Rip it. The spine cracks like a snapped bone. A red stamp slams. Phones lift. 12-year-old Amara stands with two halves of her identity while a flight attendant declares, fake documents. Step aside. If stories like this matter, subscribe now so this record stays public and the chain of custody never goes dark. Stakes before faces. A torn passport is a trapdoor. No boarding. No entry. No identity. An entire life pauses at gate C-19 while a clock dares a child to fall between countries. The crowd decides whether it's witnesses or accomplices today. The aisle holds its breath. Context razor. Amara travels with her aunt for urgent medical follow-up abroad. Consulate letter ready. Prior checks clean. Their route is routine. Nothing about the moment is routine. Preserve, says a calm voice from 3A. One word. The difference between rumor and record. Phone steady. Rec dots burn like tiny sirens. The ant aligns the halves on the counter. Chip corner visible. Fibers matched. Letterhead beside the damage. Competence outruns outrage when time matters. Pattern interrupt. UV sweeps the chip page. Under blue light the watermark blooms. Microprint sings. The security thread glows true. The pen says authentic even as a hand earlier said rip. Truth arrives in wavelengths, not volume. Who touched it before me? The supervisor appears, tone flat, eyes on sequence. Not heat. Order. State chain. The flight attendant blinks. I assessed visually. Assessment is not destruction, the supervisor answers. The counter hushes again. Have you ever watched Power mistake certainty for policy? Share your thoughts below, then stay. This isn't done. The manifest doesn't care about feelings. Numbers match or they don't. Amara J., seat 12A. Passport number fragment visible in the torn cover. Macro camera zoom on the kiosk aligns digits. The box flips green. Evidence outvotes ego. Policy 6.4, the gate agent says aloud. Clear, slow, for the microphones. Destruction of a travel document prior to verification triggers immediate removal pending review. Preserve footage. Assist the traveler. A stainless tray slides into frame. The attendant's badge lands with a sound that carries farther than a shout. Pattern interrupt. Close-up on paper fibers. Torn edges fit like puzzle teeth. The ant's hands don't shake. A notary staple glints from the consulate copy. The camera catches the serial microtext along the hinge. Viewers lean in. Even the hum of the espresso machine fades. Lupe opens. Will removal become termination on the spot? Assist isn't a word, the supervisor says to the gate agent. It's a sequence. The agent nods. Printer wakes. Boarding exception, minor with guardian. An incident field populates, destroyed by crew. Arrival is flagged, no second guessing. Two hands pass the packet to the ant. Respect moves along a spine of paper. The flight attendant finds her voice. I judged anomalies. The supervisor doesn't flinch. Judgment isn't protocol. UV is protocol. Chip is protocol. Record is protocol. He tilts his chin toward the wall of phones. Public memory is protocol today. Have you stood in a line where one decision rewrote a day? Say where you've seen it. It matters. A lawyer's phrasing threads the air. For the record, watermark verified, chip validated, document destroyed pre-verification, minor present with guardian, footage preserved. Language built for transcripts, not arguments. The aisle hears the future reading this back. Pattern interrupt. The body cam on a security officer blinks alive. Not for force. For form. He doesn't crowd the counter. He marks time. Arrival of sequence is sometimes louder than arrival of sound. The crowd exhales but does not leave. Loop B opens. Will Amara board today on an emergency letter? The ant signs with a precise hand. The supervisor initials. The agent stamps. The printer breathes. A thin rectangle of official mercy slides forward. The hallway to the jet bridge seems to widen by an inch. Hope sometimes has exact dimensions. Who authorized the tear? The supervisor asks, still level. No theatrics. The attendant swallows. I did. Document why you skipped second eyes. Write it, he says. Not unkind. Not soft. Just procedure. The difference between confidence and competence is 1 second of hesitation the aisle can hear. Pattern interrupt. The monitor above the gate flashes an update, passenger 12A, assisted. Simple text. Heavy meaning. A child watches the word settle into place and says nothing. Dignity, intact, is quieter than applause. Have you ever seen rules outrun ego in real time? Keep watching. Open loop C. Will this terminal's fix become a system rule, or does the lesson die when the phones go down? The flight attendant tries one last threadbare defense. We can't accept, the supervisor lifts a palm. We can accept verified documents. We can accept evidence. We can accept responsibility. He looks at the phones, then at the badge in the tray. And we can accept consequences. Cameras preserved. Report opened, he says, voice steady. The gate printer spits the last page. The ant takes the packet. Amara holds the two halves again, not to mourn them, but to mark the moment the room remembered the order of things. A rule outran ego because someone made it audible. The jet bridge light turns green. The story doesn't end. It escalates, verification first. The supervisor's voice is level, not loud. He doesn't argue with the flight attendant. He argues with sequence. Chain of custody starts now. State actions in order. Phones keep recording, because stories without order get rewritten by memory and pride. If stories like this matter, subscribe now so the chain stays public and the lesson doesn't vanish in silence. Have you ever watched procedure outrun ego in real time? UV sweeps the chip page. Under blue light the watermark blooms. Microprint resolves. The security thread glows thread straight. The pen says authentic even as a hand earlier said rip. That's the power of delayed resolution. Answer a question, open a bigger one, keep viewers leaning in for the next reveal. Start with an irresistible question, layer new information, then shift the frame before closure. The curiosity loop holds attention without cheap drama. Manifest match, says the gate agent. Macro camera on the kiosk aligns digits from the torn cover with the reservation file. The box flips green. Numbers don't care who is holding them, they care whether they agree. It's progressive storytelling in a terminal, each proof step builds momentum toward a promised payoff. Policy 6.4, read it aloud, the supervisor says. The agent does, slow and clear, destruction of travel document prior to verification triggers immediate removal pending review. Preserve footage. Assist the traveler. The stainless tray slides forward. A badge lands with a small, final sound. Consequence before commentary is a hook on its own. Have you noticed how a simple unanswered question keeps you watching longer? Creators call it a curiosity gap, the mental itch that doesn't let go until resolution arrives. Here, the gap is human. Will Amara board today? The ant aligns the halves on the counter like puzzle teeth. The consulate letter sits beside them. A notary staple glints. Record the damage, then assist, the supervisor says. The officer's body cam blinks to life, not for force, for form. Documentation closes arguments before they open. Who touched it before me? the supervisor asks again, eyes on sequence. I did, the attendant replies, voice smaller now. Why no second eyes? I judged anomalies. Judgment isn't protocol. Verification is protocol. Sequence is protocol. The distinction is the lesson viewers will remember. Pattern interrupt. The printer wakes. Boarding exception, minor with guardian. Incident field, destroyed by crew. Arrival flag, no second guessing at next door. Two hands pass the packet to the ant, respect traveling on a spine of paper. It's a mid-episode micro-payoff that keeps the audience invested for the larger reveal. Lupe narrows. Will removal become termination on the spot? The supervisor notes time stamps for every action. Say it for the record, prompts a lawyer's even voice from 3A. Watermark verified. Chip validated. Document destroyed pre-verification. Minor present with guardian. Footage preserved. That phrasing is built for transcripts and future accountability. Have you ever been in a line where one decision fixed or shattered the day? Comment with the moment and what changed. The flight attendant tries to reclaim volume. We can't accept, the supervisor lifts a palm. We can accept verified documents. We can accept evidence. We can accept responsibility. 3 beats. 3 truths. A cadence designed to stick. Pattern interrupt. A progress indicator the brain can feel. Monitor above the gate updates, passenger 12A, assisted. Simple text. Big meaning. Visual progress signals to the mind that the story advances toward the promised payoff. Loop B tightens. Will Amara walk the jet bridge today? The jet bridge light turns from amber to green. Not yet. Final sign-off, says the supervisor. The gate agent initials. The ant signs. The officer marks, record closed, assist complete. The hallway looks wider by 1 inch. Hope has exact dimensions when documented. Statement, the supervisor asks the attendant, still steady. Write why you skipped second eyes. The pen hovers, trembles, lands. The aisle hears the difference between confidence and competence in that one silent second. Have you noticed how creators scatter small payoffs before the final reveal? It keeps watch time up without exhausting patience. This terminal is doing the same thing, on purpose. Open loop C widens. Will this fix become policy everywhere, or does the lesson die at C19? The camera captures the last page printing, the packet passing, the badge waiting in the tray. Somewhere, an executive phone buzzes. Audit lights are about to come on. Cameras preserved. Report opened, the supervisor says. He doesn't celebrate. He doesn't scold. He recites sequence, knowing the audience understands the stakes. Procedure outlives pride when it is made audible. The green light holds. The scene cuts not to applause, but to the next question, the one that will carry us into what comes after the gate. The jet bridge light holds green, but nobody moves. The supervisor's radio crackles once, then twice. Incident logged. Preserve, all angles. He nods without drama. The crowd stays silent because the next sound will decide whether this stays local, or becomes policy. If stories like this matter, subscribe now so the next steps are public, not whispered behind doors. Has a single phone ever kept a system honest in front of you? He turns to the flight attendant, voice even. Write why you skipped second eyes. The pen hovers, wavers, lands. I judged anomalies. He doesn't scold. Judgment isn't protocol. 4 words. A hinge turning in air. Pattern interrupt. The officer's bodycam field of view appears in the kiosk reflection, a second lens, colder than phones, built for transcripts. It captures the torn fibers, the aligned serials, the consulate letterhead squared to the edge. Evidence composes itself in silence. Manifest 12A, assisted, confirmed, the gate agent says. Macro camera snaps the green box. Numbers agree. The aisle exhales. Not applause, relief with a pulse. Lupe narrows, removal versus termination. The stainless tray still holds the badge. The supervisor doesn't touch it. He cites sequence. Immediate removal pending review. Pending is a fragile word in a loud room. He scans the counter. Statement time. He places a small voice recorder beside the torn halves. Say actions in order. The attendant swallows. I assessed visually, deemed inconsistent. He stops her gently. Start at custody transfer. She blinks. Received from passenger. Continue. Held. Tore, the room hears the verb and stiffens. Before verification, he adds, flat. The recorder doesn't blink. Pattern interrupt. A printer coughs out a thin form, boarding exception, minor with guardian. The aunt signs. The agent initials. The officer stamps. The form slides across like a bridge built out of paper and policy. The jet bridge light doesn't change color, but the hallway feels closer. Escalate, the supervisor says into his radio. 2 syllables travel farther than a lecture. Somewhere, a phone buzzes in an office that never planned to care about gate C19 today. Have you ever watched a rule walk itself from a counter to a boardroom? Stay. This is how it moves. Public memory preserved, the supervisor adds, eyes on the phones. Thank you for recording. Please email footage to the address on screen. The gate monitor flashes a simple prompt and an official inbox. 30 red dots become a single case file in under a minute. Witnesses become pages. Loopy tightens. Will Amara actually board today? The aunt lifts the packet. The seal dries. The officer steps back to clear the lane. The gate agent keys the override, open 12A. The bar scans. The beep sounds different when it means dignity. Amara looks at her aunt. Her aunt nods once. 2 steps forward. Then a pause. Not yet. Final supervisor sign, the agent says. 1 box remains. Pattern interrupt. A vibration across 3 pockets. The supervisors, the gate agents, the officers. Same sender, different titles. Hold position. Exec inbound. The room tilts 1 degree toward attention. The phones don't lower. Have you noticed how resolved tension, held 1 beat longer, pulls you closer? That's not manipulation. It's respect for stakes. The executive arrives quiet, not grand. No entourage, just a document satchel and a face that has walked more terminals than cameras. Walk me, she says to the supervisor. He does, in sequence. Received. Tor pre-verification. UV authentic. Chip validated. Manifest match. Minor with guardian. Exception prepared. Badge pending tray. No adjectives. Only order. She asks 3 questions without looking up. CCTV angles. All. Bodycam sync. Live. Public submissions. Flowing. She nods once. That's the difference between crisis and audit. One drowns in noise, the other measures oxygen. Pattern interrupt. The executive opens the satchel. Inside, a compact forensic viewer, no larger than a book. She places it beside the torn halves. Blue floods the paper. Holograms wink awake. Under IR, the latent laminate seam behaves like a tide line. She isn't performing for cameras. She's interrogating a material truth that does not speak any human language. Authentic, she says. 1 word. The room resets its gravity. Lupe closes. The badge doesn't just sit in the tray anymore. Immediate removal becomes termination, she says, still even. Effective now. The supervisor nods. He doesn't dramatize. He collects the badge like a fragile thing that can cut. He inventories it aloud. Badge. Access fob. Device. The recorder hears the soft clicks as they land. Have you ever seen a single calm sentence move a career from noise to history? Describe that moment. Others will recognize it. Assist, she tells the agent. The agent does, but one detail slows the bow. Arrival coordination, the agent says. Flag to prevent secondary denial. She takes the terminal, types a code that isn't printed anywhere near the gate. Cleared beyond doubt, she says. Not just here. There. Pattern interrupt. A small, almost private gesture, the executive turns to Amara's aunt. I am sorry, she says, in the singular. Not, we regret. Not, the company apologizes. I am sorry. Apology is not protocol, but it is sometimes the shortest path to healing in rooms where protocol had to repair harm. Loop B closes. The last box gets its initials. The beep is softer because the tension has somewhere to go now. Amara and her aunt step onto the bridge. The light stays green. The phones lower one by one, but not all the way. Not yet. Open loop C widens. Will this become rule, not rumor? The executive doesn't leave. She turns to the supervisor. Initiate incident audit. Pull 3 months of document rejections by staff ID and traveler demographics. I want patterns by morning. The supervisor nods. He knows the shape of what she's asking. It isn't punishment. It's prevention. Communications, the agent asks softly. Not yet, she replies. We tell the truth when we can show the fix. She looks at the tray. And we don't perform justice. We document it. Have you ever seen a fix travel faster than outrage? Remember this cadence: verify, preserve, assist, audit, reform. It is the long hallway out of rooms like this. The executive signs the final line on the exception packet. The officer timestamps the bodycam log. The supervisor collects the recorder. The agent resets the lane. A terminal that had frozen 5 minutes ago moves again, but with a new muscle. Not louder. Smarter. Report opened, the supervisor repeats. This time, the words are different. They don't just announce paperwork. They announce a door, held open on purpose, long enough for a system to walk through. The jet bridge glows green, but the room holds its breath. The supervisor finishes the last box, initials tight and legible. Assist complete, he says. Not triumphant. Precise. If stories like this matter, subscribe now so the fix is seen as clearly as the failure. Amara's aunt checks the packet once more. Exception letter. Manifest note. Arrival coordination code. The officer's bodycam timestamp. You'll walk straight on, the gate agent says, voice low, steady. No second questioning at the next door. The aunt nods. Relief doesn't need volume. It needs assurance that repeats in the right places. Badge and access, the executive says. The tray rises like an altar to accountability. The flight attendant places the metal there with fingertips that don't trust themselves. The fob follows. The work device last. Each item lands with a small sound that carries farther than a speech, because consequence has a tone the human ear recognizes before the mind argues. Have you ever seen a room learn a rule in real time, one item at a time? Say when. Others will recognize the rhythm. Statement to close the record, the supervisor prompts. He doesn't look up, doesn't lean in. He makes a space where truth fits. I tore prior to verification, the flight attendant says, voice barely above the drone of the belt loader outside. I skipped second I's. The recorder catches the verbs that matter. The executive neither nods nor flinches. She writes one line, termination, effective immediately. The pen stops. The decision doesn't. Pattern interrupt. A small printer on the auxiliary desk wakes again. Paper feeds. Travel assistance notice, minor with guardian. The letters are boring in the best possible way. Predictability is the opposite of panic. The gate agent stamps twice. The officer signs once. The ant signs with a careful hand that has signed too many forms in a short life and knows where gravity sits. Loop A is done. Removal is no longer pending. It is past tense. The tray will leave with security in 5 minutes. The room learned a shape for justice that doesn't require cruelty to be real. Walk them, the executive tells the supervisor, nodding toward the jet bridge. He does. 2 steps behind the ant, 1 step beside Amara. Not to escort power. To ensure dignity arrives intact. The bridge hums. Shoes find a rhythm. A memory is replaced by a corridor. Have you ever felt a place widen because someone did their job exactly as written? Remember that dimension. It's teachable. Back at the counter, the executive is already building the next hour. Public inbox set. Yes. CCTV mirrors saved off-site. Yes. Bodycam clock synced to gate time. Yes. She closes the satchel, the forensic viewer clicks into place like a book returning to a shelf. Close the lane. Reopen in 5 with a statement to waiting passengers, we pause to follow verification procedure. Thank you for your patience. No drama. Only order. Pattern interrupt. A hush, then a strange sound in terminals, applause that isn't for a celebrity or a soldier returning home, but for a child who kept her head and an ant who kept her hands steady. It starts in row 3 and spreads by rows, not by cheers, by people standing and exhaling the tension they held for someone they didn't know minutes ago. The executive does not turn to receive it. She directs it forward. Save it for them, she says, and the gate agent smiles without showing teeth. Loop B closes softly. A beep at the door to the jet bridge marks Amara's boarding. The system logs, 12A, assisted, boarded. 3 words, 1 promise kept. The phones lower, but a few remain up, not to hunt for scandal now, but to witness standard working as designed. That's a different kind of video. Fewer views. Longer tails. Immediate notifications, the executive says to no one in particular and to exactly the right people. Crew scheduling, remove from roster. HR, initiate exit compliance. Security, revoke access. Ops, note for shift briefing, verification beats velocity. Comms, hold until audit begins, we share fixes, not outrage. The supervisor writes each line where it can't be lost to adrenaline. Have you ever noticed how the best leaders say less and align more? That's on purpose. The brain follows sequence easier than slogans. Pattern interrupt. The flight attendant, pale now, reaches for apology. I didn't mean, the executive lifts a hand gently. Intention is not verification. Outcome is what we repair. She gestures toward the inbox on the monitor, where attachments count up, 1. 7. 19. Public memory is preserved. You will have a fair process. It begins with your own words. The officer hands over a simple gray envelope. Personal effects. The attendant takes it like it might break. In a way, it already did. She looks down, not at the phones, not at the faces. The supervisor points her to a quiet door. Not a perp walk. A process walk. It's slower. It's harder. It holds. Loop C opens wider. This is where incidents usually die, once the right person boards and the wrong person leaves. Not today. The executive turns to the supervisor. Incident audit. 3 months. All rejections by staff ID and traveler demographics. Pull outliers. Pull patterns. I want a table that tells the truth without adjectives. He nods. He's done this once every few years for weight and balance. He'll do it now for weight and bias. Have you watched a place decide it won't be a place of accidents anymore? That decision looks small. It is not small. The gate agent reopens the lane. The message reads exactly as ordered. We pause to follow verification procedure. Thank you for your patience. People move again. The belts whir. The printer sleeps. The stainless tray disappears into the quiet door with security. The counter is wiped, not to erase the scene, but to prepare it for the next traveler who deserves a clean surface and a clean start. Pattern interrupt. A child's voice somewhere behind the door says, "We did it." A woman's voice answers, "They did." The bridge sighs shut. The light stays green. The executive takes one last look at the inbox count. 33, she knows by morning it will be in the hundreds, then thousands. Not all will be useful. Many will rhyme. That's fine. Systems learn by pattern, not by pain alone. Audit begins now, she says, and leaves the gate without ceremony, carrying a satchel that holds nothing flashy and everything necessary. If stories like this matter, subscribe now, because what happens next is rarer than a viral clip, the part where a fix doesn't fade when the cameras do. The part where a terminal remembers a child's name without writing it on a wall. The part where a policy is born in the exact spot a page was torn. The inbox counter climbs. 33 becomes 90. Then 200. The executive doesn't look at views. She looks at patterns. Open the audit, she says. The supervisor nods. If stories like this matter, subscribe now so the reform is as visible as the wrong. Stakes before faces. A fix that lives only at gate C19 dies by morning. A rule that travels becomes memory. Today decides which it is. The printer sleeps. The cameras don't. The room changes function, from crisis to evidence. Scope, the executive says, already walking. 3 months. All document rejections. Sort by staff ID, time, traveler demographics, reason codes. The supervisor repeats it back, word for word. Order makes teams faster than adrenaline ever will. He adds, flag torn documents. Cross-check second eyes skips. Procedure is a rhythm. People learn it by hearing it in full. Pattern interrupt. A copy room becomes a war room. Laptops open. A whiteboard fills with 4 columns, verify. Preserve. Assist. Audit. Under each, boxes. Under boxes, names. No blame on the wall. Only work. That's how cultures turn corners. Start with variance, the executive says. I want outliers mapped. Agents with higher than average rejections. Shifts with spikes. Gates with repeat patterns. The analyst draws 3 heat maps, one by hour, one by agent, one by reason code. Colors don't lie. They don't accuse either. They invite questions the right people can answer on record. Have you ever seen a place choose curiosity over defensiveness? That choice sounds like, show me more. Cross with CCTV, the supervisor adds. We need context. Was it volume? Was it training? Was it bias? He doesn't fear the last word. Naming it didn't create it. Silence did. The body cam clocks sync with gate time. Angles align. Transactions become sequences, not stories people rewrite later. Pattern interrupt. The executive opens a slim binder titled 6.4, Destruction Protocol. She circles one line, no destruction pre-verification. She circles it again. Then she writes beneath it, embed second eyes prompt in system UI. Hard stop. People forget under pressure. Software doesn't. Not if you design it to remember for them. Lupe echoes. Consequences ripple outward. HR removes the badge from active status. Access revokes. Exit paperwork prints. Fair process, the executive says to HR, document evidence. Offer appeal. Keep dignity in the room. Accountability isn't a performance. It's a record that can stand alone. Loop B widens. Assistance becomes policy, not favor. Write the assist first script, the supervisor tells the gate agent lead. Plain words. No jargon. Steps on one page. The lead drafts. 1. Verify. 2. Preserve. 3. Call second eyes. 4. If damage, print exception. 5. Flag arrival. 6. Explain calmly. Short lines. Strong verbs. The kind that land in memory the first time. Have you ever been helped by someone who sounded unshakable because they had a map? That's not talent. That's design. Pattern interrupt. IT joins without being summoned. They bring a mock-up, a pop-up that says, document anomaly detected. Invite second eyes, with yes the big button and no the small one that requires a reason code. Quiet nudges change outcomes. Training cements them. Audits prove they stick. Messages, comms asks, hovering with a draft press note. The executive shakes her head once. Not yet. We show fixes, not outrage. We'll speak when the first improvements land. People trust receipts. The comms lead deletes a paragraph that would have sounded good today and empty tomorrow. The analyst points at a bright square on the heat map. 2 agents with high manual rejections, she says, voice careful. Same shift window. Same gate cluster. The supervisor doesn't tense. He writes, interview. Review training records. Pull 3 random cases each. Compare against protocol. The point is not to catch. The point is to calibrate until lives aren't caught in subjective weather. Pattern interrupt. A phrase on the whiteboard changes, from reduce incidents to increase verified assists. Humans aim better at positives. The metric follows the verb. Loop C comes into focus. Will this become bigger than one terminal? The executive dials a number that doesn't appear on gate rosters. Operations network, she says. I want a 30-day pilot, UV readers at every podium here, then 5 hubs. Mandatory dual-eyes logins. Bodycam opt-in for verification steps. Live dashboard for variance. She listens. Then, yes. This week. Have you watched a fix travel? It sounds like plain verbs and dates, not slogans. The supervisor returns with a neat stack, 6 incident summaries from the last 8 weeks that rhyme in the wrong ways. Similar phrases, he says. Visual anomalies. Doesn't look right. The executive marks each one with a small dot. Replace that sentence, she says. With what? He asks. With not yet verified. Words matter. They carry less bias when they carry more accuracy. Pattern interrupt. Training design spins up. 10 slides. No stock photos. 1 slide is just a sentence, twice, judgment is not protocol. Verification is protocol. The next slide is a photo of blue UV and a chip reading field. A headline, truth arrives in wavelengths, not volume. People will remember it because their hands saw it at C19. Have you noticed how simple lines travel farther than clever ones? That isn't an accident. It's how teams talk under stress. The analyst refreshes the inbox. 496. Patterns emerge before names do, times of day when hurry outvotes patience, gates where second eyes are physically farther, shifts where training lapsed. Each one turns into a line on the plan, not a paragraph in a complaint. Loop A, B, C all converge. Accountability, assistance, audit. The executive pencils the phrase, Project Passport Integrity, at the top of the whiteboard. No trademark symbol. Not a brand. A promise. Kickoff tomorrow, she says. Hot room at 8. Ops, HR, IT, training, security, comms. Bring one slide each, what you changed by morning, and the next change after that. People nod. No applause. Chairs slide. The war room keeps humming after the door closes. Have you ever seen anger give way to architecture? That's the only way this holds. The executive walks past the quiet gate now reopened and working like nothing happened. That's good. That's the point. The memory of a torn page is being replaced by the muscle memory of 1,000 small right moves. The badge tray is gone. The inbox count climbs anyway. She doesn't flinch. Tomorrow, those attachments will become training clips, case studies, and system tests. Pain becomes pattern. Pattern becomes prevention. Audit lights on, she says to no one and everyone. Then she says the only sentence that keeps a fix alive past a news cycle, and they stay on. The terminal exhales. Day crews rotate out. The inbox counter keeps climbing in the corner of a quiet ops room that never really sleeps. The executive's whiteboard still reads the same 4 words: verify, preserve, assist, audit. But now there's a 5th in neat block letters beneath them: reform. If stories like this matter, subscribe now so the follow-through stays visible when the crowd goes home. Stakes before faces. Daylight fixes can fade at midnight. Procedures that were loud at gate C19 can go whisper thin at gate F2. People get tired. Shortcuts sound efficient. That's when harm sneaks back in. Tonight decides whether this is a story, or a standard. Miguel walks the concourse with a small tablet, a small lamp, and a large patience. Compliance officer. Night watcher. The job isn't to intimidate, it's to keep music on tempo when the room wants to speed up or slow down. He starts where it began. C19 hums like a heart that's learned a new beat. Dualize, he asks the agent. Logged, she says, and points to the prompt that won't let her move forward until second eyes have tapped seen. A soft constraint, a strong safeguard. Pattern interrupt. Miguel toggles a live dashboard. Heat tiles glow by hour, gate, reason code. 2 bright squares at D5 and F2. Not red alarms. Yellow reminders. Curiosity first. Judgment later. Walk, he murmurs, and his shoes already know the route. At D5, a rookie freezes over a water-blurred passport. The UV wand is in reach. The second eyes button is blinking. I can, he starts. You can verify, Miguel finishes gently. No lecture. Just sequence. The wand slides. The watermark blooms. Microprint resolves. The rookie's shoulders drop. Assist. Miguel prompts. Assist, the rookie confirms, and the printer breathes out a boarding exception like it was designed to do exactly this, which it was. Have you ever watched a person stand taller because a prompt told their hands what their head forgot? That's design doing its job. At F2, a different pause. Not damage. A face match alert that's more caution than verdict. The agent hovers between soft match and call. Miguel doesn't decide for her. He hands her the laminated assist first script. 6 lines. Short verbs. Verify. Preserve. Call second eyes. If mismatch, request secondary ID. If still uncertain, escalate. Explain calmly. She reads. She acts. The screen moves from orange to green without anyone's dignity going through red. Pattern interrupt. Miguel opens the tablet's variance view. The two bright squares dim. A small banner slides down, variance resolved, documented. The dopamine hit is small but real. Systems should reward prevention louder than they punish mistakes. It keeps good hands on deck. Lupe, still echoing, keeps its rhythm. Accountability without spectacle. HR logs the returned badge. Security confirms access revoked. Legal files the record soberly. No leaks. No victory laps. Just a line that stays straight where it needs to. Miguel doesn't touch that part. He notes the timestamps. He notes that the door stayed closed and the process stayed open. Loop B, assistance as policy, expands in quiet ways. At A7, an elderly traveler with shaky hands and a letter from a clinic arrives with a passport that's seen rain and worse. Before last week, this would have been a sigh, a scene, a stumble. Tonight, it's a sequence. UV first. Chip read second. Second eyes third. Exception printed. Arrival flagged. The agent says, "I'm sorry you had to worry, but you're all set," like she's said it 100 times. She hasn't. Yet. Have you noticed how competent sounds? Calm. Brief. Specific. It's music the brain trusts. Pattern interrupt. Miguel steps into the back room where the printer lives. On its side, a taped card, assist isn't a word, it's a sequence. Below it, someone's added in pen, and a promise. He takes a photo. Not for social. For training. Small culture changes deserve to be archived, too. A shift lead waves him over. We had pushback, she admits, low. One agent says this slows lines. Miguel nods. Did the data agree? She blinks. I pulled dwell time. Verification adds 18 seconds on average. Exceptions add 2 minutes, 40 seconds. Reworks after mistakes used to burn 12 to 15 minutes and shut a lane. They both look at the numbers. Lines don't hate accuracy. They hate chaos. Pattern interrupt. The dashboard pings. A new tile brightens at C3, second eyes skipped, reason not logged. Miguel arrives to find an agent halfway through a tear before UV. The second eyes button is blinking, but habit has old gravity. He doesn't grab the page. He touches the screen. Hard stop engaged, the system says, as the UI freezes everything but calls second eyes. The agent exhales like a diver hitting air. I forgot, she says. You remembered, he corrects. Then he logs the micro-incident with 3 tags, old habit, nudge worked, refresher scheduled. No shame. Full record. Have you ever felt a near miss turn into a training clip instead of a headline? That's the difference between blame culture and learning culture. The clock walks toward 2 a.m. cleaning crews reclaim carpet. Screens shift to night palettes. Miguel sits with the analyst in a glass-quiet room above the lanes. Variance, he says. She hands him a short report. Evening spikes at 2 gates. Both link to breaks with no float agent. People skip second eyes to beat the clock. He scribbles one line for the morning hot room, staff float for breaks in dual eyes lanes. Problems aren't personal. They're usually logistical, wearing a human mask. Pattern interrupt. A small ceremony that isn't one. Miguel visits the lost and found. He places a copy of the assist first script between a forgotten scarf and a noisy keychain shaped like a plane. For who? The clerk asks. For whenever, he answers. Not everything needs a memo. Some things need to be findable when worry has hands. Loop C sharpens. Reform moves beyond a whiteboard line. A late-night ops call blinks in. Pilot ready, the executive says through a clear connection that rides above the floor's soft machinery. UV readers shipped to 5 hubs. Dual Eyes UI released. Live dashboards up by morning. Training version 1 cut to 10 minutes for pre-shift. Bias line changed from "doesn't look right" to "not yet verified." We're standardizing language. Miguel smiles at that more than the hardware. Words carry weight. Lighter bias, heavier accuracy. Have you ever watched a phrase retire? It's quieter than you think. It matters more than you guess. Pattern interrupt. A thank you that isn't performative. The ant sends a short email to the public inbox at 3:11 a.m. We boarded. No one questioned us at arrival. Please tell the woman who said "I am sorry" that we heard her. The analyst flags it. The executive will read it at 7:03, alone at her desk, and underline, "heard." Miguel does one last lap. The prompts blink when they should. The wands charge on their cradles. The scripts have coffee rings already, which means they're being used where hands live. He updates the night report with verbs, not adjectives. Resolved D5 water damage via UV plus exception. Cleared F2 soft match with secondary ID. Prevented C3 pre-verification tear via UI hard stop. Logged 2 training nudges. Identified staffing gap at breaks. Have you noticed how a good report reads like a map, not a memoir? It lets the morning team start moving, not start guessing. He turns off the small lamp. The big lights never truly go out. The inbox counter ticks to 1,127. Not all of that is useful. Enough is. Enough always is, if you listen for pattern over volume. He leaves the ops room exactly as he found it, but with the screen saying something new in tiny fonts: variance resolved, documented. If stories like this matter, subscribe now. Tomorrow's part is quieter than a confrontation and louder than a press release, the rollout where other terminals choose the same sequence before they have the same scene. The lesson doesn't end on a badge tray. It continues wherever a second pair of eyes finds a button and presses "Scene." Morning hits like a switch. The concourse brightens. The whiteboard in the hot room keeps its 5 verbs: verify, preserve, assist, audit, reform. But now there's a map pinned beside it. 5 dots pulse in different time zones. If stories like this matter, subscribe now so the part that's usually invisible, the rollout, stays in view long enough to matter. Stakes before faces. A fix that lives in one terminal is a memory. A fix that travels is a standard. Today decides which story future shifts inherit. Hardware is easy. Habits are hard. Culture is hardest. That's the work. Stand up, the executive says. 1 slide per lead. What landed by morning? What lands next? No preambles. No flourishes. IT goes first, Dual Eyes UI live network wide. Hard stop before destruction. Reason codes enforced. Second Eyes button big and blue. Training, 10-minute pre-shift module in the app. 4 slides are verbs. 2 slides are photos from C19. 1 line, judgment is not protocol. Verification is protocol. Ops, UV readers staged at every podium here. 5 hubs received by Friday. Spare wands in charging carts. Security, body cam, verification mode, enabled, timestamps sync, no audio by default, tap to record when needed. Comms, holding statements drafted but shelved. Will show receipts before words. Pattern interrupt. The analyst pins the first overnight variance sheet to the wall. 3 near misses prevented by the hard stop. 2 mismatches resolved with secondary ID. One outlier gate where breaks caused skipped second eyes, now covered by a float. Each line is short enough to fit in a briefing, long enough to drive a change. Language, the executive says. Retire doesn't look right. Replace with, not yet verified. Retire, gut check. Replace with, second eyes. Retire, I know. Replace with, sequence shows. Words carry bias. Will carry accuracy instead. It sounds small. It isn't. Have you ever watched a workplace change its verbs before its values? That's how values stick. The first hub call comes from 5 hours ahead. A live feed shows a podium in a different script but the same glow of blue. The agent there taps the big button without thinking. A second set of eyes leans in. UV slides. Microprint resolves. The traveler's shoulders drop. Assist, the agent says in another language, and the printer answers in the universal language of forms. The fix speaks without translation because sequence is a lingua franca. Pattern interrupt. Leadership resists the press temptation. Instead of microphones, the executive opens a tiny classroom beside gate B3. No cameras. 10 agents. One script. She holds the torn halves from C19, not as spectacle, but as material. What happened here, she asks. The room answers in verbs, tore before verification. Skipped second eyes. Assisted after. Audited. Reformed. They are learning to narrate the work the way the work saves people. Loop A, accountability, keeps pace. HR reports back, termination documented. Appeal window offered. No leaks. Legal, incident file complete. Evidence chain intact. Security, access revoked confirmed. The summary is 2 sentences, 0 adjectives. The absence of spectacle is the point. Loop B, assistance, scales. Each hub adopts the assist first, one-pager, laminated and clipped to the terminal. Agents mark coffee rings on them within hours. That's how you know it's on the desk, not in a drawer. A traveler in another city cries at a counter for a minute, then laughs through a thanks when the exception prints. That's an audit metric too, even if it never hits a dashboard. Have you noticed how trust returns in grams and leaves in tons? Systems have to overdeliver the grams, every shift, until weight is felt again. Pattern interrupt. The dashboard adds a new tile labeled, bias-resistant phrasing. Whenever a reason code includes retired language, the UI nudges, try, not yet verified, ... The nudge is polite. The habit it replaces is not. Over days, the counter for old phrases drops like a slow rain stopping. The analyst surfaces a thorn. One station reports delays from the hard stop at peak, she says carefully. The executive nods. Add a float. Move a cart closer. Don't move the stop. They don't optimize away the safeguard. They optimize around it. That's a culture line, speed bends to safety, not vice versa. Pattern interrupt. A quiet victory email lands from an arrivals team across the ocean, assisted passengers flagged correctly. No secondary hits. Thank you for the upstream fix. The executive forwards it to the night watcher with 2 words, you helped. Loop C becomes the point, normalizing what was rare. A monthly cadence takes shape in a few hours. Week 1, rollout and scripts. Week 2, measure variance and retrain. Week 3, publish internal receipts, before/after clips, anonymized, annotated. Week 4, retire a workaround, enshrine a fix. No newsletters. No slogans. Just cadence. Have you ever felt a change become boring in the best way? That's when you know it'll outlive the people who started it. An unexpected call pings in from a partner airline. We saw your UI and dualize prompt in a clip, their ops lead says. Can we license it? The executive doesn't smile. Not yet. We'll open spec the language and the flow, she replies. Hardware you'll buy. The verbs you can have. The point isn't a moat. It's a standard. Pattern interrupt. A brief ceremony that isn't public. The executive meets Amara and her aunt at arrivals a week later, without press. She returns the repaired passport in a clear sleeve with a note, verified. Preserved. Assisted. Audited. Reformed. The aunt reads the 5 words, then the name. I meant it, the executive says about the 2 words she said at the gate. I am sorry. They don't make a speech of forgiveness. They make eye contact, then leave space for the next traveler. The internal town hall finally happens, not to relive outrage but to show receipts. Short clips play, a UV wand turning a no into a yes, a second eyes tap preventing a tear, a script calming a line. Metrics follow. Second eyes adherence, 98.2%. Average verification dwell, plus 19 seconds. Exceptions processed, plus 240%. Post-incident refusals, minus 86%. No victory music. Just numbers that match what hands feel. Have you noticed how the right numbers feel like a shoulder drop? They validate what people already sensed but couldn't prove. Comms publishes a single page on the website titled, What We Changed. It lists 10 items, UI prompt, dual eyes mandatory, UV at podiums, exception flow simplified, arrival coordination code standardized, bodycam verification mode, public evidence inbox, retired phrases, hotroom cadence, audit dashboards visible to staff. No adjectives. No self-praise. A date next to each. A contact for questions. Receipts. Pattern interrupt. The executive adds one final line to the whiteboard in thin letters beneath the verbs, dignity on time. It becomes a joke in some rooms. Then it becomes a shorthand. Then it becomes a constraint. Flights leave. People keep their names. Loop A fades into policy. Loop B becomes muscle memory. Loop C keeps asking for proof. That's good. Skepticism is healthy in systems that want to stay honest. The inbox counter slows from thousands a day to dozens. The variance tiles are usually cool. The hard stop still flashes when old instincts wake up, then hushes them without shame. Have you ever seen a place become the one it said it was in its ads? It doesn't happen with slogans. It happens with small safeguards making big mistakes impossible. The terminal that once stopped to watch a page tear now barely glances up when blue light hits paper. That's not apathy. That's trust in sequence. Somewhere else, another gate copies the flow and pretends it was always theirs. That's fine. Standards want to be stolen. The executive erases the map dots one by one and replaces them with a single word across the top of the board, everywhere. She caps the marker. She says nothing. The room understands. If stories like this matter, subscribe now. Not for the outrage. For the receipts. For the parts where a fix stays fixed because 1,000 people practiced 5 verbs until they needed no audience. For the quiet truth that the opposite of prejudice isn't a speech. It's procedure done on time, in order, for everyone.